Hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Are the Operant Power. Hi, Jane.
Hi, Gail.
Today, we're going to be talking about reacting and responding. So before we got before we were taping, I don't even know if that's a word these days in our
Recording.
Recording, that's it, yeah. We started this conversation and Jane's like, hold up, we gotta record.
Yeah.
We gotta record.
We just start talking and then we go to tape and we miss it.
They were tongue-tied now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get back into that conversation only in the recording rather than just on the side.
Yes. Yeah.
And the topic came from our discussion on forgiveness.
Yes.
So you can refer back to that one. We'll put a link down below to that video. And so Jane, you start off with what you initially said to me.
Okay, so basically I've had a couple of days of similar reactions to circumstances. So the first time around we talked about forgiveness and being able to stay in a state of love for yourself and for the other person, I suppose, which is you pushed out.
Yes,
so
same thing, right?
Either way, staying in the state of love. And I talked to you about how repeating all is well, being thankful for all the good things that are happening instead of focusing on any kind of narrative. And then it came up again. I got a reaction to a similar kind of, I want to say it's like a power struggle conversation. Like someone's trying to take control. And I said to you that it occurred to me that certainty leads to a need to control, which leads to an attached outcome, which isn't exactly what love is. Love, I don't think. And I was saying I don't want to react, and you were to I want to respond, and then you said,
okay, just there's a few additions to what we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Love is attention, and we're going to do a video on this too, right? So whatever you are giving your attention to is what you love. So if you think about it like that, and you go back to even the things that you were saying.
So I like fighting. I like arguing. I love arguing. Is that the deal?
Well, I mean, it's not about judgments, right? It's just about recognizing.
But could it be that? Like, seriously, just that I like to be in, I love arguing?
Well, that's up to you, what you love, what you choose to love.
Isn't that a contradiction, though?
Is it?
Feels like
it's not for us to decide. You know what I mean? Like, it's for you to decide. For me, I don't particularly enjoy arguing, so I wouldn't spend any time there because I don't love that. So I don't give attention to that. If you love arguing, I mean, what you can do to kind of get to the bottom of this for yourself is ask why. Why do I argue? Why do I love arguing? And keep asking why till you get to the answer.
So is that your belief system? Because I actually wrote down what motivation would I have to reject love for myself and others, and how would that serve me? And
okay, can I just jump in?
Yeah,
we talked about this before.
Oh yeah, analyzing.
Yeah, so, and this is, I mean, we all fall into this, and this is why we're identifying it. When you're analyzing, you're creating stories. So when you say, what was one of the things you said?
How does it serve me to have these beliefs?
Okay, so how does it serve me to have these beliefs? assumes and implies that you have beliefs that are not serving you. So what does that mean? Then all of these beliefs that you believe are not serving you are going to be, you're going to be having experiences with them because you've identified them. And yeah, I mean, which ones? I don't know. But the whole point is, what do you want? Like, instead of analyzing, because, oh, I have beliefs that don't serve me, and I have this that does this, and I need to do this, and I think I should be.
Right. Focusing on what you want.
What do you want?
Yeah.
And what we talked about earlier is you came up with a desire, but it came from a place of what you don't really want. Your desire is to get out of that what you don't want.
So your desire should be to love in all, like, in a full spectrum of all the different types of areas in your life.
Well, your desire comes from your creative force within, your creative power within. So these desires are created for experience. So I wouldn't limit it that it has to be this, this, and this, because you're not the generator of them. It feels like you are, because it's coming from your, the creative energy being within your heart is pushing up those desires for you. So if I have a desire for coffee, my desire is not, I don't want to have water, like I affirm that I don't drink water anymore. Okay. So you end up with coffee, like, you know what I mean? So what do I want? I want a coffee. I'm enjoying this coffee. I love this coffee, as opposed to bringing in what I don't want. So right. I no longer eat or drink tea.
Right.
Water.
Right.
And then your assumption is that coffee is the alternative in your mind, right? But why not just focus on coffee?
Like, is that like, because we have so many things to choose from, we do that?
No, because we focus the wrong direction. We're focused on what we don't want still, but we put it in the form of a desire, but it's to make things better, to fix that.
So take all that energy. Yeah. And I feel like part of my frustration came from, like, once I identified, oh, this is what I want, I wanted to move on it quickly and start doing things about it. And I got into that place of, okay, this isn't happening fast enough. That's actually, I think, where it came from.
So you created another story with that. So what do you want? And if you love it, you'll give attention to it in the sense of, I love this coffee. I love drinking my coffee. I love that I can have a coffee so easy, whatever kind of love you can give, attention you can give to it, right? As opposed to, this water sucks, I want coffee.
Okay, so
this is the way I used to think, water sucked. What I want now is coffee.
So, okay, so say you get into a discussion and somebody doesn't see something the way you see it, and they don't really want to listen to your explanation.
Well, okay. You want, when you were having a discussion, and it's the same when you and I are talking, when anybody is talking, I'm going to accept or I'm not going to accept what you're telling me in my mind. Because of course, I'm talking from a conscious perspective, right? If you don't know how reality works, then everything goes into your mind. And that's what we're all dealing with right now, is sort of getting away from that programming to create our own new program, defragging our computer to, our computer brains to create a new program. So somebody doesn't have to listen to you. Like, you have no power in the physical world. Your power lies in your thinking and your
Which is the subjective
perception of
reality.
life. Pardon me?
That's the subjective reality.
That's right. Yes. And we'll talk about that more because that gets kind of confusing as well.
Yeah.
But what you imagine in your mind is the only reality. And then what is imagined in your mind with feeling, with love, is then projected out into what we're formerly known as the physical world. So what that person, you're better off to, okay, here's the discussion I had. They didn't want to hear it. They think this, or whatever. They're just reflecting what's in your consciousness. So whatever they're saying, you're holding in your consciousness. So is that something is that something that fits now for you in your consciousness?
Okay, so
not because just the way you were talking about it.
Okay, so if someone does something and you are the projector,
Mhm.
and you see it as offensive, say, and then are you to question yourself about what is it about the offensive thing inside of you? Where does it reside in you? Because that's paying attention to it. Or are you just
you don't even have to dig down to find that. You can, first of all, you're not going to accept it. Like they didn't say that. They're not like that. They think blah, 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 whatever it is that you want to hear. Oops. And so that's something that's like revision. So you're not going to accept what they're saying. You're going to hear what you want to hear. And then you can do the forgiveness at that point. Forgive them for showing you what's in your consciousness. And then for yourself, you're going to forgive yourself for having them show you because it wasn't a pleasant situation, right? And you can also then say, I maybe used to think that way, but I don't think that way anymore. And then that's cleared up. So because we've got so much imagining before us, because we're always on. Anytime anything comes into your awareness, it's if accepted or if nothing is done to deny it, it will go right to your subconscious mind. So it builds up, right? The different experiences build up and create a belief if we put enough focus on it. So you've forgiven, you've changed it within your consciousness. And if it comes up again, then that's just past imaginings coming up again. Oh no, I've forgiven this. No, they don't think like that anymore. They think blah, 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 blah. And I think blah, 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 blah. All is forgiven. And then when that is natural to you, where it's just like, no, then you will notice a change in response to your change.
Right.
You don't change them, you change you, and they respond to you differently.
Yes.
So anything happening out, trying to do anything out in the physical world is useless because it usually will create more issues, right? That's how arguments happen. Well, I need to tell, no, this is how it is, and they need to hear me, and I know the truth. And I mean, all this division going on in the world is all because people are trying to change other people on the outside. And nobody's trying to, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but people, this is where we need to change in order to change on the outside.
So it gets kind of tricky when you're in relationship, for me anyway, to catch myself when somebody's bringing something to me that feels foreign, I guess. so is that an aspect of myself that I haven't, yeah, if I paid too much
Everything
attention to it or no
outside,
attention?
everything outside of you is telling you about yourself, what you're holding in your
Right.
consciousness. It may not be, say for an example, a murderer. Somebody is murdered. And it's not that you imagine somebody getting murdered, but you hold within your consciousness that there are people out there that can murder or that do murder. And so that is in your consciousness. That is your experience.
Right.
Not that you're murdered or anybody even near close to you. Like you could be just seeing somebody on TV or in a show. I mean, if we watch shows and that, as soon as something is brought to your awareness, you imagine it, unless you consciously deny it. So
right. So
murder show and imagine that, and there could be somebody, anywhere in the world that gets murdered based on your imagining, even though it was unconscious and you didn't mean to imagine that, but it's simply based on watching, allowing that into your awareness.
So it's easy for me to talk to you about this stuff and sort of, in a sense, it's analyzing, I guess, sort of some of it. Like,
well, it's learning to understand how.
Right. So why is it that it's so
stories?
No, okay. So why is it's so easy in some relationships to do that and so difficult in others?
You tell me.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Because you have stories attached to certain people. I mean, I think it happens a lot with like relationships, right? When you first meet the person, everything's wonderful. You've got no background with each other, and you just get together, you just enjoy, and then then there's this sort of shows up or that shows up, and then you attach stories to that action or stories to that word, and we just keep building stories. And so we're not focused on what we want, because if we were focused on what we want, then those things are of no value.
Oh, you know what?
Story.
So I just remembered the story that came out. I did have a story. I totally did. And as soon as I said it, that's when all the conversation shifted.
Yeah. Well, and
I shifted it. Yeah. And then I didn't like the reaction I got. Basically.
And just for people listening, like once you start down this path, like things happen fast. When you're not aware, it doesn't mean that you don't imagine and you don't have the same power, but it may go over a longer length of time, and you don't remember, 3 years ago when you said this and now it's showing up here. You don't relate the two together.
Right.
As you learn and begin to understand, you're held to a higher standard, and stuff comes fast. But you know what you just did? Oh yeah, I did have a story. So now you can change that story. Like,
I was thinking about it.
Think like that. I don't think like that anymore, and I forgive them for showing me that about myself, and I forgive them for making them show me about myself, and it's done.
So is there a way to apply it? Like, I still don't understand why it's easier with some people than others.
Because it's stories. You don't have the same stories with me that
okay. Yeah. I was thinking about
you have stories, but I know Gail would always be straight with me. I know Gail's always coming from a place of love, or whatever it is, the stories that you have. Like, I just have the wonderful stories, right? I'm the angel stories. And so it would take a lot more for me to have you create a story that's not so good about me, because you have me as I'm this part of you that's being projected out. So I'm holding those things that you want in your consciousness. That other person is not, because of your past, it could be your past history, the stories that you've attached as a result of those experiences. You don't have the same faith in yourself in relation to them. Because it's all about faith in you. It has nothing to do with me.
So how would you apply that to picking the people you pay attention to?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
well, we have a certain amount of people like in our immediate circle, a few friends, our family, our partners, whatever. Like, how would you, like, say the narratives are showing up in one relationship in particular at a particular time? So I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of eliminating those. Like, could you, because a lot of there's a lot online about staying away from toxic relationships. So if you take what you're saying, then it's trickier, isn't it?
Well, I think
it's not as simple as that, is it?
Well, I mean, it is, but it depends on you, because depending on the experiences you've had, it has to be natural for you. So for you, it's natural that we're going to talk about some cool stuff, right? That's just a natural thing. So with that other person, well, oh, they did this, and they remember when they said that. Now I don't know what they're going to do today. It's, oh my God. So that's your natural with them.
Okay.
So when you get to a natural of, you know what, we just have a great time every time. Or we just understand each other so well, or we're just there, whatever it is that you want. See, it's a great opportunity. I mean, again, we're in school here, right? We're all a work in progress. So those kinds of relationships, I'm not suggesting you go into them and get harmed or hurt or anything like that, right? Because everything is done in your head. You're meeting with that person. Whenever they come to your mind, what are you thinking about them? Is that what you want from them? I mean, chances are good that if there's, say, toxic relationship, just for example, you're focusing on the toxic aspect of it, as opposed to creating the kind of relationship or friendship or whatever it is that you want. And
so do you think
work?
Yeah. So do you think, like, I listen to a lot of psychology, analyzing.
Yeah.
I try not to, but I do sometimes. So do you think that you can, in your experience, have you been able to shift what you would consider a not so good relationship into a good one, like a less toxic one? Is that the goal or no?
Well, I mean, it's individual. What I tend to do is look at them and, okay, what am I feeling about it? You know, I'm like, oh, you know, kind of rolling my eyes. Okay. So that's not how I want to feel about somebody. Because you have to remember too, that whatever you do to someone else, you're doing to yourself.
Yes. Yes.
So if I'm rolling my eyes at them, you can be sure they're rolling their eyes at me, you know, behind closed doors when I'm not seeing. So think of them as mind readers. Think of other people as mind readers. I always find that useful, especially for dogs. Like, your dog is your mind reader. Whatever you're thinking about them, you can be sure they're going to act that out. So be careful what you're thinking about them. So, and I am trying to train myself. And again, it's a work in progress, but okay, well, what do I want? How would I prefer them to be? Because what happens is, when you're so focused on what you see them or perceive them as, and say it's toxic, for example, you're holding them in that state of mind, because they may meet somebody else. Like you may have somebody that's, to you, it's a toxic relationship. I may meet them and be like, oh, I don't even understand this. Like, that person is so kind. Like, they're so nice. They're so good. And that's because I'm not holding them in that place. I'm holding them in a place of they're kind, they're good, they're whatever. And they will respond to that. The same as if I was like, oh, what an idiot they are. They're such an idiot.
Yeah.
They're going to be an idiot to me. And that's
Yeah.
another important point with all of this. There's just so much truth being tossed around these days, right? And everybody's individual truth, they got truth. But as long as there's somebody that can think differently about that truth, then that can't be the absolute truth. So if you're in a toxic relationship and you don't really like the person because they're so toxic, and I meet them and they're totally different than what you're saying they are, then that can't be the truth, that they are only toxic. And that's the whole point, is they're responding to me, they're responding to you. And so once we start, focusing on, okay, what do I want? Instead of, I don't want them to act like this, I don't want them to do this, I don't want them to do that. What do you want? Just keep
Right. Yes.
What do you want?
Actually, I want to say too that a lot of conflict comes from wanting someone not to do a thing versus asking them to do the thing that you want to do.
It's not even asking them. It's you do it in your head.
Right.
They've already done it for you. And they will just do it. You don't have to ask them. It's amazing if you practice this, test it out.
Yes, I've had that happen.
Yes.
I've had both ways. I know this way because I've had it manifest both ways. I've been practicing and then I fall out and then I go back in, like even like this one here, it feels like what would you call it? Attaching to an outcome.
Okay, well, if you're going to do that, attached to the end outcome that you want.
Right. So somewhere in there, I got lost. I lost the outcome.
Yeah, because
somewhere in the interaction
you didn't want.
Right.
I don't want to react. I don't want this. I don't want them to say that. I want them to like what I'm saying, or I want them to get what I'm saying.
Right.
That at least is focused on what you want. But we tend to, and I mean, it's just natural. Like there's nobody, we all do it. It's all part of our programming. It's all part of our pathway. We focus on trying to fix instead of what we actually want. And by focusing on fixing, we're actually giving life to the very thing we don't want.
Yes.
Giving more life to it. So then it'll show up more and more and more.
So what would your take on therapy be then? Like doing therapy, because you have to go sort of, they encourage you to go over the things that you've talked about, and I guess it would depend on the therapist.
What do you want? That would be my, like.
Well, I guess in an end that therapy is that thing. Like I've experienced that in therapy where it's like, okay, well, what do you want?
What
like, do you want that outcome or do you want this outcome? And how do you go internally to, I guess it's like program, like you said, like reprogram yourself into focusing on what you want versus focusing on what you don't want and trying to fix it.
Yeah. What I've noticed from psychology, because I did a lot of psychology before, I've never gone to a psychologist for sessions or anything, but, did a lot of study on it. And I noticed this a lot with people who have learned about psychology, very smart in psychology, but they're constantly analyzing. Because it's always, well, he did this and she did that because blah, 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 blah. And that's not helpful because you're still giving life to, even if they have an excuse, you're still giving life to what you don't want. And you're attaching stories to it because you can't read someone else's mind. You don't know why they did something. You're assuming
Yeah.
it, and that's creating it.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of that as well. And that's what I tend to see with people that know psychology or have learned psychology, self-taught or watching videos or having done
Well, it's
such.
kind of it's all interrelated to opinions too, like people having opinions of things.
Absolutely. And that's, again, that's like stories. That's your opinion. It doesn't have to be my opinion. Like, more power to you. Enjoy your opinion, but that I don't have to accept it.
Well, I think that's where I've been learning to accept other people's opinions, probably through accepting my own opinion, I guess. It has to
Well,
be.
the thing is, though, you don't, they can have
Like
it. They're
accepting that other,
entitled
I
to
don't
it,
have,
but
sorry?
they're entitled to their opinion.
Yes.
Is it something that you accept for your consciousness?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm better at like just going, oh, well, that's your opinion, and maybe not like,
You don't even have to respond.
yeah.
Like, you don't have, I mean, you're having a conversation, yeah, but you don't have to
Even,
get into, well, I don't believe that way. I don't think that way. I
yeah.
mean, you can, but sometimes that, triggers people, right? But what's more important than anything that's done out here is that in your mind, if somebody gives you their opinion, and I mean, it's the same for everybody out there, even with what we're saying, like, test it out, try it out, ponder it, the answers, you have all the answers within already. Because we can only share our perceptions from our experiences, right? And so you can accept that as true, or you can say, no, you're, like, Gail, you're full of it, and I'm not watching anymore. But that,
Right.
what they would be, you're better off to do is, like, I don't accept that. Nobody I know thinks that way. This is how they think. So you're clearing up your consciousness from those conversations because they are beliefs or thoughts of yours, projected out. So they represent something in your consciousness. So they can have their own opinions, but is that what, if you don't consciously we deny them or reject them in your mind, not to their face, but in your mind, and replace them with something, then they stand in your consciousness still.
So if someone says like, you're a horrible person, let's just say that, and you hear that, if that's yourself projected, is that means that you think you're a horrible person?
Well, that horrible people exist.
Oh, right, right. That's different.
Or there may, I mean, I don't think there's anybody that loves themselves fully, because I don't think we fully understand ourselves enough to even try. So, and it's not even worth analyzing. Okay, this is what they're showing me. Does that fit for where I want to be at this moment?
Right.
No, it doesn't. So, nobody I know, nobody thinks like that anymore or ever did. Like, nobody thinks like that. Everybody knows everybody is connected and loved, period.
So analyzing for me is probably where I need to be aware, because yesterday when I was feeling sort of the shock of whatever, getting bumped out of my feelings of, I was in a really good place too. So I quickly acknowledged that, again, I don't want to wreck my day. I don't want to go into a state of not feeling good about myself. I don't want to waste my day and feel depressed or reactive. So
all those don't, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I don't know if that's what I just immediately went to. All is well, all is well, all is well. And I told you this before. At first, it doesn't really resonate, and then after a while, I'm doing my breathing. All is well, all is well. Love, all is love. Like, I love myself. I feel like I need to tell myself everything's okay. That, everything, I guess a return to self-love, like even in how I was using the narrative to throw me off my day, like I was going to do that thing. Well, now I don't feel like it. I was watching kind of, I don't know, maybe
What do you want?
I want to be able to be okay with other people not being okay with me. That's what it feels like. Too
Okay.
complicated?
Well, yeah, because you brought in what you don't want.
Right.
So what do you
Right.
want? I want to be at peace. I want to enjoy other people's companies, something like that. Because everything that you want is assuming, and that people are like that. And so then that means that's in your heart.
Right.
And if you
Right.
don't remove it by replacing it with something, then it's going to stay there.
So I just want to be at ease, at peace.
Okay.
And then just
That's where you
focus
go.
on,
That's where you
yeah,
keep going back. Oh, no, I'm at peace. I don't want,
yes.
no, I'm at peace.
Yeah, that's kind of how it felt.
But
And
you
then,
did that. No, I'm at,
yeah, I was even counting. Because I woke up in the middle of the night and stuff started coming in, and I was like, oh, I want to go back to sleep. So I just started counting so that I could like slow down whatever chaos in my mind was. I don't know, counting seemed to work. It worked. I don't know.
okay.
There was
Another
no narrative
try,
around it.
another thing you can try is when you get like, when you wake up and I'm like, oh, I want to sleep. I want to sleep. I can't sleep. I want to sleep. Is imagine the morning, you're waking up. Oh my God, I had the best sleep. Loved it.
Yes.
It's such a good sleep. And then you're using your imagination. Because the one, I suspect the 1, 2, 3, like the counting, again, is somewhat of a, I don't want to hear that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as opposed to sort of letting go of that whole narrative and story. It's
Right.
kind of a, oh, no, get away from me. Whereas like, no, I want a good sleep. I imagine in the morning, oh, I had such a great sleep.
Yeah.
Just using
Yeah.
it for your benefit. Instead of, you're not sort of fighting to stay away from me, stay away from me. You're like, no, you know what? I know how to sleep well. I'm going to get up and I'm going to imagine getting up in the morning and thinking, wow, I just had the best sleep. And focus on that.
Yeah.
That's what you love.
I love waking up well rested.
Attention, love. So you're taking your attention there. And I mean, you know what? This is all very simple, but it's not always easy, granted. So it takes focus, it takes persistence. But as long as you persist and never give up, you will get there.
And when you say get there, what would that mean to you? Whatever it is to you.
Wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
If it's like, I want to, not to have this issue anymore, that's kind of you. That's not your desire. That's when you're looking at yourself without judgment. You're like, okay, this is an area that doesn't really fit me anymore. What do I want? I want blah, blah, blah. So you create your end based on what you want, rather than focusing on this doesn't fit. I don't like it anymore. I don't want it anymore.
Right. Because there's resistance in that.
Well, and that's what takes time for the change. The change can happen like that, but it has to be natural to you. So you have to be able to say, like, I forgive, done. And the next time you see that person, it's like nothing ever happened. No stories, no backstories, nothing. Just right now is the only moment that's,
Yes, yes.
and that actually is the case.
So what would you say about an apology then? Say you got into an argument and you felt like you needed an apology. Is that just a narrative?
Forgiven. Yeah.
Nobody needs to apologize?
Forgiveness is forgetting. I think we mentioned that in the.
Yeah.
So what do you want an apology for?
Well, I'm saying to you, is there ever a time that you would have to apologize?
Not if you've forgiven. If you require an apology, you haven't forgiven. You're still holding on to the old story. And you did it to you. They're a thought or a belief of you projected out. So whatever they did, you can't blame them. And there's no good blaming anyways. Take responsibility. Okay, this is what happened. Somewhere within my consciousness, this is. I forgive them for having to show me. I forgive myself for, having them show me. And that nobody thinks like that anymore. This is how we think. Everybody gets along, whatever it is you're choosing. So that old doesn't exist anymore. What do you want an apology for? That's holding on to old stuff. And that's a controlling thing.
Yeah.
From the outside. And it just doesn't, if there's no change in here, there's no change out there. So you can ask, they may say they're sorry, but as long as you're holding that still in your consciousness, you're just going to run into it again. If not with them, with somebody else.
Well, it's kind of weird because I feel like I was taught to hold things and the only way you can control is by holding, and everyone needs control over themselves.
Well, that's part of our programming. So whatever, it is what it is, but that we don't think like that anymore. And, we forgive everybody that made us feel that was sort of the way. They're just showing us what we've been holding in our own consciousness. So it's all part of just our education and learning about ourselves. Like there's no need for any emotional attachment either. Like, it's just like, okay, it is what it is. What can I learn from it? Oh, okay, well, I don't think that way anymore. And I don't know anybody that thinks that way anymore. This is the way we think now. All control is, within our power, within our minds. And I don't even think control is probably a good word. But all responsibility is my own for everything.
So how is anyone ever a victim?
By adopting those victim states. See, the thing, when you're consciously creating or unconsciously creating, there's two separate things. We're learning to consciously create, which means we're taking full responsibility for everything in our lives, in our reality. And we're learning to understand ourselves and how we create, and with relationships and, things beyond, like objects and getting on with our lives and creating the life that we want. Unconsciously, we're still creating, but we're just not aware. We don't know how we create. So we're like, and I've used this example numerous times this past week. If you're unconscious to this stuff, which we all we're like boats on the ocean. Like, we get boom, boom, the waves, and we just get knocked all around. And we don't know any different. And that is what makes us the victim, is we don't know that we have the power. that we create our reality. So that's what I think your question was, what makes a victim or whatever.
So is there any time that it would be necessary to identify a victim? Because a lot of stuff that, like, say someone murders someone, like, how do you use that philosophy in that case?
Revise. No, people don't.
No, but if you're the, say someone
No, I'm
murders
telling
someone,
you, people don't act like that. Because if you hear, like I was saying earlier, if you hear about a murder, if you don't consciously deny it, then it's going to be part of your consciousness still. And you're going to get experience. You're going to hear on the radio, or you're going to hear on the TV, or you're going to see your neighbor or whatever. It's still going to be part of your consciousness. So you can't, this is a dream. This is like what do you call those dreams where you're awake in the dream?
lucid dream.
Lucid dreaming, yeah. So they're not, it's like a holograph. They're not real in the sense that, no, I don't want to go into this. I need to.
Yeah, yeah.
But the idea is not to accept that that's happened, because to accept it is recreating more of it.
So by them promoting, like on the news, for instance, like I don't watch a lot of news because I found that it would make me focus on and pay attention to things like that, you know, who just got killed or who hurt.
How do you know it's the truth? How do you know it actually happened? Did you see it? Were you actually there? And this is like a huge one, actually. Good for bringing this up. I hope we have some time still. There's so much hearsay out there. Whereas, did you know that blah, 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 blah. And you don't know if it happened or not. So-and-so said blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're kidding me. And then we have this emotional reaction to it when we don't even know if it actually happened. We did not see it. We were told about it. So how do you know that it's true? How do you know that you're just not being manipulated? So you have to be, the only thing you know for sure is true is what you have experienced. Oh. And anything else is hearsay that you're accepting or not accepting.
Which allows you to continue to be the operant power.
Well, yeah, because you're not accepting what you don't know to be true.
Right.
You know, just because somebody says it's true. I mean, we've run into this our whole lives. You know, the government said this. Oh, they take care of us, so it's okay. Well, yes, must do that. I mean, now they're using it for race. You know, that person killed that person. Aren't you angry about that? You know, and it was because he was this or he was that. And it's like, I don't know if he did. It looks like maybe he did on this video, but then you see another angle of the video and things are a little bit different. It's like, I don't know. So I'm not going to react. I'm not going to use my energy to feed that, because it's manipulating people. Because if you don't know, if you're in the boat on the wave getting crashed around, and we were all there. Like, we all have the same path that we're walking. We're all in different places. And it's not for us to judge someone else. But when it comes into our awareness, nobody thinks like that anymore. Everybody is loving, or everybody takes care of everybody, or whatever whatever it is that we want to say. We don't accept stuff that we don't want, especially hearsay. If it's something hearsay that we want, oh yeah, that'd be great. You know, everybody's getting $100,000, Christmas bonus. Like, oh yeah, okay, I accept that. I don't know if it's true or not, but that kind of thing is that I don't mind feeding that into my consciousness, right? And we can that, and I could do this with it and that with it, and I love it, love on it. But the things that you don't want to see, nobody thinks like that anymore. It's only because people think like that and imagine that ends up happening. And it's, if you're seeing it, if it's in your awareness, it's because it's somewhere in your consciousness. And Lord knows
So
we see on the news how many wars and murders and people being treated poorly, and hearing about it more so than seeing it, because you can't even guarantee that what you're seeing on video is real anymore. That's the big thing
so
that's come out lately.
a good way to respond would be to say, what would love want? If you want love, then when something happens, you could say in your mind, what would love do right now?
Well, if you have to, if you don't know like for me, it's just like, oh, people don't think like that anymore. Everybody everybody takes care of one another. They don't do that stuff. Everybody takes care of one another. Like, I just don't get it. That easy. I want the easy way, the fast way to deal with it. I think you probably know what love would do. Love wouldn't feed attention to that, right? What do you want? I want people to get along with other people. I want people to take care of other people. I want people to do for other, like, whatever. You don't have to ask that question. I'm trying to get rid of steps and just, what do you want?
Yeah, but reactions are very quick. So
what? Okay, tell me this.
like when somebody,
what do I want, as opposed to what does love want? What's the fear of saying, what do I want?
well, that's it. That is love though.
Then why don't you just say,
because the whole awareness is that you're
why
loved.
don't you claim it?
I am love.
Okay, so what do I want instead of what would love want?
Yes.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but just claim it.
Yes. What would I want?
If you think that you're love, then claim it. Because it's almost like that's not me, but that's where I want to be.
Right.
I'm not love, I want to be love. But if you are love, then what would I want? What do I want? That claiming it is you taking responsibility. Then you can't put it in, you can't put it on love.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I tried.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Well, I just find I have in the past, anyway, I'm working on it, been very reactive. So when someone raises their voice, I raise my voice. When someone gets aggressive, I get aggressive. So it's just,
story?
Well, that's been my experience, and I've been learning how to.
Have you, when you talk about it, are you changing it in your mind?
Yeah, because I said I used to do that. I'm now aware that I do that. So that's where I'm saying the shift comes in. That I'm programmed to respond a certain way, and I have to take that extra second or two or a minute or
we all do. You don't even have to identify I have a program. We all do. That's just right. The way it is. Like, and again, I'm just saying that because you don't need that additional story. We are all programmed, every single one of us, and we're all have the same programming. We're in different places in our path, but we don't need to spend the time we're all programmed. I only say that so people understand that we all are.
So how did it come about for you then? Well, how were you able to change that dynamic for yourself?
Well, I still find myself with programming. I mean, I'm a work in progress like everybody else. But there's,
so when it comes up,
as you experience and understand, then it's so much easier to kind of let things go. Oh, that's me pushed out like that. They're representing a thought or belief of mine. Oh, well, that doesn't fit for me. So I'm going to change that.
Right.
I want this. And
Yeah.
so you just keep bringing it, and who cares? Like what anybody out there says. See, when you're a people pleaser, you have more of a challenge because you're worried about what people say, right? And that's where
Yes.
understanding makes a huge difference, because it's like you see it doesn't even make sense to please people. And you can please them simply by seeing them how you want them to be.
Right.
Not a
Yes.
matter of
Yes.
doing it out there to please them. It's in here, you have to please yourself by allowing them to be who you want them to be. I think we're probably good on time.
Yeah.
Really end things here, but that was good. I think that was a good discussion. It started on reaction and responding. Any questions? Anything experiences you want to share, put them down below, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.